Broadcasting from Studio 202 at the Springett Technology Center in Navasota, Texas. It's NOV Live. Now, let's start the show.
Hello and welcome to NOV Live. My name is Shelby Dumaine and I'm your host for today. We have a really exciting show today, a really important show today, I think as you'll come to learn. We're talking about the fight against human trafficking and what we're doing, and also what you can do if you're watching this to join that the good fight. So here we have some really excellent guests on the show today, and I'm gonna have them introduce themselves in just a minute. But first, I want to talk a little bit about. I've mentioned some of my involvement with an organization called Red M that NOV partners with quite a bit. So I wanted to mention that. I volunteer with the organization for some events, and really we have a museum that we've built that spreads awareness and information on human trafficking. And so that's just a little bit about what I've done with Red M. I think this is an extremely important cause. I say all the time that once you hear or see or learn the information and the facts of human sex trafficking, you really can't ignore that. You can't unsee it anymore. You have to do something. You feel it in you. And that's why it was really important to me to have this show on. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce our guests. Again, thank you both so much for coming. First off, we have in the studio, I'll start there. We have Guillermo Flores. You're a co-chair for the Multicultural Professional Partners. Did I get it? Yes, here at NOV. So thank you for joining. And then joining us from, I believe, Houston. You're in Houston. Is that right? Yes. We have Kathy Givens. She's a co-founder of 1211. So thank you both so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Kathy, we'll start with you. Can you tell me a little bit about 1211?
Absolutely. 1211 Partners is a nonprofit organization focused on walking alongside individuals who have overcome human trafficking. And I say walking alongside because there are several points to an individual's journey, especially once you've experienced human trafficking. We're on the side of the journey where they are reintegrated back into community, just thinking, trying to live like a normal professional citizen, trying to overcome some of those challenges and barriers that many individuals who have experienced human trafficking face. And so we're on the other side of it. The first side of it is obviously exit, when they get out and they need all the services and residential treatment and stuff like that. But we're on the side where they're back into the community.
Absolutely. That's so important as well. I think maybe some people don't think about that side of it. And so I think it's really special to provide a community for that part as well. And Guillermo, can you tell us a little bit about your involvement with MPP and how it brought you to this conversation?
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having me. Yes, so MPP, I got involved by joining, is a multicultural professional partnership, one of the three groups that NOV created. And in order to, promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I got involved, I went to the kickoff, and of course, being multicultural, I'm an immigrant as well, it interests me. How can I help? How can I get involved? Either with NOV and as well the community side of it. So I contacted the people from MPP, and I joined the community inclusion pillar of MPP first. And that's where everything evolved into getting to see and meet with Red M and 1211. And that's pretty much how I got involved with MPP.
Absolutely. And I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about human trafficking, sex trafficking. One of the things that I've learned in the last 2 or 3 years that I've been volunteering is a lot of people tend to think of it as they know it's a problem. I've yet to meet anyone who will say, like, I don't think that happens, but they think it happens somewhere else or to someone else or to people, not to them. That wouldn't happen here. It wouldn't happen to my family, my friends. And something I've learned is it happens everywhere, and especially where you may not think. And so that's why I say you can't unsee or you can't unhear that. So I wanted to ask you, Kathy, can you talk a little bit about why it is so important that everyone be aware of that and everyone kind of join the fight against it.
Absolutely. Something that I always try to reiterate is that trafficking does not discriminate at all. So anyone, like you said, trafficking preys on vulnerabilities, not necessarily people, right? So, and if we think about it, every one of us have been vulnerable at some point in time. And so that's what it preys on. That's what traffickers prey on. And it is very much going on in every single community. I always say that, you know, you look at yourself and you may not, even if you're not experiencing trafficking or have never experienced trafficking, you probably know someone that has, because it's what we say, you know, hidden in plain sight, and it targets men, women, boys, girls, anyone. And we do have some populations and communities that are at higher risk. For instance, we know statistically that women and children of color are primarily the ones that experience human trafficking, or disproportionately represented anyways for those that experience sex trafficking specifically. We know that foster youth are at very, very high risk for experiencing human trafficking. We know that you know, the migrant population is at risk of experiencing human trafficking. However, because they're at higher risk, doesn't mean that those are the only populations that are targeted by it. And I think that's where people, you know, mistakenly think that we're safe in their communities, right? In our communities, because it's like, oh, well, it's not happening in my community, or I can't see it happening in my community. I don't come from an at-risk background, or I'm not in a marginalized population, so maybe it can't happen to me. That's where we're wrong. And so that's definitely a misconception.
Right. And I think that's why it's so important that we talk about it in the energy industry as well. And NOV it's a huge industry. This, you know, we're all over the world. And so we need to be aware of this so that we're part of the solution. So like you said, it can be anywhere. It can happen to anyone. And so that's why I feel like some people might think, you know, oh, why are you having this show? Or why does NOV partner with 1211 and Red M? What's the connection? And I think it's getting everybody aware and to understand what's going on.
Right.
And I want to ask you, Guillermo, so what is MPP's kind of part in that? So the multicultural professional partners, again, I always have to remind myself the acronym, but you talk about from an NOV stance, are y'all getting involved?
Well, we are trying to get together with more organizations that are like this, Red M, 1211, and there's a lot more organizations out there in different topics, of course, that they focus on different things. But getting involved with trafficking is really important, and MPP is just trying to promote more. So we trying to promote it within the company. Any events that 1211 might have, an event that Red M might have, try to promote it through our members as well as the other NOV groups, and just create awareness, because you got to realize once you create awareness, you're not talking only about the employees that NOV has. They go home and they talk to their friends, family members, you know, ex-co-workers. And so that's a good way to create the awareness throughout the community. And like you said, it's a global problem, and we're a global company. And what better way of expanding that to get different communities throughout the world? You know, the awareness is, I think it's very key. Like Kathy says, I think the awareness creates, it's not only knowing about trafficking, that it happens. It's about knowing the signs, right? How do you know it's happening? How do you know it's close to you? But so getting involved a little bit, going to some events, promoting these events, and making people help as well. So yes, we're trying to promote as much as we can through NOV, through our members, in order to either help volunteer, go to the events, or create that awareness throughout.
Absolutely. And I want to ask, as someone who's kind of relatively new to working with these organizations, with Red M, I wanted to know what maybe do you feel any personal motivation? Is there something about human trafficking that motivated you to help and to be part of it personally?
Yes, I've never been or know, and it's interesting because I don't know that anyone close to me, friends that have been trafficked. And like Kathy said, I might be surprised one day, right?
Mhm.
But I've always been a big believer on justice and people treated fair, and so trafficking is the total opposite, right? It's taking away your rights, taking away your freedom,
Mhm.
and it's knowing that some people think that people that are being trafficked, they made those choices. But like Kathy has teaches, and I'm learning a lot more by getting involved with 1211 and Red M, is that you got to see the signs. It's a grooming process. It takes years. Sometimes they take their time to groom people, to groom kids, to groom teenagers and adults, right, that are vulnerable, which is a key component of it. And so creating that awareness that it's good to know if you're a parent, you want to, before we might think, oh, I want to see what my kids are looking in YouTube to see if they're not
Mhm.
watching any bad stuff. Well, bad stuff nowadays with social media means grooming through the internet,
Mm.
grooming through gaming, grooming through different
Mhm.
social media. And so if you just are aware and know it is happening, it's real, but also learn a little bit more, go a little bit further and see what the signs are. And
Mm.
then you can promote a little bit more. So my motivation is help people. Uh, I've heard this side of it, like Kathy was saying, I haven't heard direct
Mhm.
testimonies besides Kathy's, and I'm sure I'm gonna hear a lot more. But in any way I can help towards bringing that freedom to those people that it's being taken away from them, it's something I would like to do and help out.
Mhm. Absolutely. And Kathy, actually, that made me think of maybe a question for you, because as someone kind of new to the fight, Kathy, as someone who's been doing this for now years, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but um, can you share a little bit about what continues to motivate you towards fighting this?
That exact community response right
Mm.
there,
Oh, wow.
because this takes a community. There's no
Mhm.
way that overcomers, we've experienced it, but we can't stop it alone. We need to join arms with our
Mhm.
community, and that for me is motivating. Just to speak to the last event that MPP hosted
Yes, there we go.
at the tower. Um, just from that meeting and just from that event, I was contacted by individuals that were in that room that need help, or that their loved
Wow.
ones need help. If we didn't have that meeting, they wouldn't know where to turn to. So
My
that is
heart.
the power of awareness that he was speaking to. It's so motivating to know that we have partners, allies in this field that are combating human trafficking. Obviously, another motivator is, the people that are still out there. I have
Mm.
the pleasure of working directly with individuals that have experienced human trafficking, like myself, and I'm talking with them every day. I'm working with them every day, and I can see them go from, that victim that we're labeled as, to surviving, and then to thriving, and that's a
Mhm.
beautiful process. So my motivation is definitely to see more individuals that have experienced this sit in these platforms with community members who actually that really really care, and so that they can understand that they are not alone and they were never alone, and we can totally end human trafficking together.
Mhm. You mentioned something there, overcomer. I've heard that a lot, and I think that's something that I had never thought before. Again, working with these organizations and learning more, I think that's so important. Is that maybe label of overcomer? That's really what the goal is. Is, like you said, not just the victims and kind of putting them there, but getting to a place of having overcome it. I think that's so
Mhm.
important. Um,
Absolutely.
and you also mentioned, so you mentioned that event, and that is how I came into volunteering, is through the events. And I did want to, part of the reason why we had y'all on is because there's one this weekend, and to me, again, that was how I got involved, and I anything I could do to pass on that opportunity. So Kathy, can you talk a little bit about what's happening this weekend and what people can do?
After this weekend, I sleep. But this weekend,
right.
this weekend is our launch event for 1211 Partners. It's called The Art of Overcoming, where we will continue to spread that awareness on human trafficking, about human trafficking, really discuss in a community setting the challenges and barriers that the community can absolutely help with to help individuals go from that surviving to thriving. And then also just learn just the 101 on human trafficking. Why does it happen? Where does it happen? Who it targets? The best part of the evening this weekend is going to be celebrating other overcomers. So we have amazing overcomers participating in the program. We have amazing overcomers that will be in attendance, and even the ones that and even those that can't attend. This is to show the community, our community, that we can celebrate. There is reason to celebrate. We have a very, very long way to go, but there are individuals who have made it out. And we would, those individuals wouldn't have made it out without the help of community. So that needs to be celebrated. And that's what we'll be doing this weekend, Saturday, February 4th at 6 p.m.
Yes. Is there, I know we have a thing we can put on screen for 1211.org. Can people go there and learn a little bit more and learn how to get involved? Would that be the okay?
Absolutely, that'd be the best way. So the event this weekend is sold out.
Oh, okay, I love that.
Yeah, it's totally sold out. But this is just, the event doesn't stop there. Our work doesn't stop with an event. So we are looking for long-term sustainable partnerships. Absolutely, log on and figure out how we can create these long-lasting partnerships with overcomers for sure.
Absolutely. And Guillermo, can you talk a little bit about speaking to if there are any NOV employees that are watching this that are hearing this thing called MPP? What would you say for those wanting to get involved?
Yes, you can always, we send emails out, usually promoting MPP, get involved. And just, you can go to the website, NOV website, and go to the NOV network groups. MPP is going to be there. It's a little bit of information and videos about us, what do we do, what are there for, or you can email me, guillermo.flores@nov.com, and we can make sure that we put you in a spot that you would like to, how you can get involved. And also, if you want to volunteer in one of these events that we partner with Red M or 1211, you can either go to the website, contact me, and we'll make sure that we pass it along to 1211 or Red M, so you can volunteer in different ways, because people can volunteer donating money. They can volunteer donating their time, which is very valuable. I know, understanding for these events especially, right? It's always good to have people helping hands. And then volunteer directly, like Kathy said. And we can definitely connect you to these organizations if you want to do something like that.
Yeah, and that reminds me. So with something with Redem that I've found that I really enjoy with is, you mentioned you can donate your money, you can donate your time, whatever you have. And what I think is really cool about, in general, any of these organizations you get involved in, is part of it is you can donate your time, but you can donate what you already enjoy doing or what you do best. So for me, I love being a creative. I work in the marketing space. So that's how I, dedicate my time, is that kind of service of what I enjoy doing anyway. And I get to work on something new and something that has such an important cause. So I think that's an important thing for people watching, that it may not just be, volunteering time doing something you've never done before, or, people associate it that kind of way, but it can be doing what you already love doing, but now you're doing it for something so important.
Correct. Whatever skills you have within the company or outside the company, a lot of people, they got their own recreational hobbies that could help out, right, in organizations like Redem and 1211. So, and we encourage all NOV employees, different business segments to join MPP, and bring your ideas, and we want to make it fun for everybody. Create career advancement and professional development as well. So help the community, and in this case, we'll all in with Red M and 1211.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm just going to piggyback. I love that we're talking about this, because when you hear sex trafficking, human trafficking, it's a scary thing, right? No one, you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I can't contribute. That's a really big problem. But I love that you just laid out, what are your skill sets? What do you love to do anyways? I think if we approach this as not just a a problem or a crime, but if we approach this as, oh, these are individuals that have experienced something really horrible, I can help an individual, right? Like I can help a person. And if we think about, well, what did I need help with, right, to get to where I am today? I can possibly help someone else, or someone else might be interested in something that I have to offer. So it doesn't have to look like, you know, we see on the movies, over sensationalized, where you're kicking down doors and, you know, going on outreach and talking to individuals who have experienced this, or, you know, chasing down traffickers. Now, those roles exist, but there are very practical ways to get involved. So I really love that you touched on that.
Yeah, I think David has said it's not all Liam Neeson, right?
Yeah.
That's not,
Exactly.
that's not the only way to help. I think that's so
Yes.
important. And if you're watching this and you want to get involved, we have a couple places that we've mentioned. So we have 1211.org. You can get involved with Kathy. And then if you're interested in NOV, we've talked about that. And then as well as if you're interested in RedM, we have joinredm.com is somewhere you can go to learn a little bit more about that organization. And if you are happen to already be part of the sold out group coming to the event on Saturday, we will have the museum I mentioned earlier at the event. So while you're there, take a look around, learn a little bit, hear some of the stories. That's really what that museum is telling, that story of actual overcomers and their experiences, and paired with statistics and how you can help. So check that out there from RedM. But with that, thank you both so much for coming on the show today. This rainy, cold Wednesday morning. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for having us. It's really important. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And thank you for joining us live this week. We will catch you next time. Have a good day.